The wedding night was supposed to mean nothing, just the beginning of a business arrangement between two strangers. But when Adrian Cole touched his billionaire bride with unexpected tenderness, everything changed. What started as a contract marriage became a dangerous game of real feelings, broken hearts, and secrets that could destroy them both. This is the story of two wounded people who never meant to fall in love, and the ex-wife who returned to tear it all apart. If you want to see how this story unfolds, stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The ocean looked like hammered silver under the late afternoon sun, stretching endlessly beyond the cliffs of Cape Haven. Adrian Cole stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of the bridal suite, his reflection staring back at him, 32 years old, decent-looking enough, wearing a Tom Ford tuxedo he'd never have afforded on his own, the kind of suit that cost more than 3 months of his old salary. He looked like a groom. He felt like a fraud. "Mr. Cole?" The wedding planner knocked softly. 5 minutes. "Thanks." His voice came out steady. That was something at least. 5 minutes until he married a woman he'd met exactly 3 times. 5 minutes until he became the husband of Vanessa Laurent, a name that appeared in Forbes lists and society pages. A woman whose net worth had more zeros than his mind could properly process. This wasn't romance. This was survival. Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from his sister. "You don't have to do this." But he did. God, he really did. He thought of Maya, his 4-year-old daughter, currently with his mother 2 states away. Maya with her gap-toothed smile and her worn-out sneakers, the ones he'd been meaning to replace for weeks, but kept putting off because the rent was due and the car needed new brakes. Maya, who deserved better than a father scrambling to make ends meet, who deserved stability and safety and a future that didn't hinge on whether his freelance gigs came through. The marriage contract sat in his lawyer's office, 63 pages of legalese that boiled down to this. Vanessa Laurent needed a husband for appearances, for board meetings and charity galas and whatever other billionaire nonsense required a man on her arm. Adrian needed money, not wealth. He wasn't greedy, just enough to stop drowning. The arrangement was for 2 years, 730 days of playing house with a stranger. In return, he'd receive a lump sum that would cover Maya's education through college, a trust fund that would give her choices he'd never had, and a salary that would let him breathe for the first time since his ex-wife walked out. It was transactional, clinical, smart. So why did his hand shake as he adjusted his tie? "Everyone's ready," the planner said, appearing again. "She's beautiful, by the way." Adrian nodded. He'd seen Vanessa twice in person before today, once at the initial meeting arranged by her lawyers, once to sign preliminary paperwork. Both times she'd been immaculate, controlled, beautiful in the way expensive things were beautiful, perfect and untouchable. She'd barely looked at him. The ceremony was small. Her choice. 30 people in a private garden overlooking the sea, more witnesses than guests. Adrian recognized no one except his own lawyer sitting in the 3rd row, looking pleased with himself for negotiating this whole mess. Then the music started, and Vanessa appeared. Adrian's breath caught. The wedding planner hadn't been exaggerating. Vanessa moved down the aisle in a dress that probably cost more than a car. White silk that caught the light, simple and devastating. Her dark hair was swept up, exposing the elegant line of her neck. But it was her face that stopped him. She was always beautiful, but today something was different. Softer, maybe. Or maybe just more real. Their eyes met. Hers were gray-blue, the color of storm clouds over water. For just a second, he saw something flicker there. Nervousness? Fear? Then it was gone, replaced by that same cool composure. She reached him, took her place beside him. Up close, he could smell her perfume, something light and expensive. "Hi," he said quietly. "Hello." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she held her bouquet. The officiant began. Adrian barely heard the words. He was too aware of the woman beside him, this stranger he was about to promise his life to, even temporarily, even fake. "Do you, Adrian Michael Cole, take Vanessa Elizabeth Laurent to be your lawfully wedded wife?" His mouth was dry. "I do." "Do you, Vanessa Elizabeth Laurent, take Adrian Michael Cole to be your lawfully wedded husband?" There was a pause, brief. Probably no one else noticed, but Adrian felt it. That split second of hesitation before she answered. I do. The ring felt heavy in his hand. He'd chosen it himself, or rather, chosen it from the three options her assistant had sent over. White gold, simple, elegant. He slid it onto her finger, and she did the same for him. You may kiss the bride. This was the part he had been dreading. They hadn't discussed it, hadn't practiced. Adrian leaned in, intending something brief and appropriate, but Vanessa met him halfway. Her lips were soft, warm. The kiss lasted maybe 3 seconds. 4. When they pulled apart, her cheeks were flushed. Applause rippled through the small crowd. Vanessa's mouth curved into a smile that looked almost genuine. Well, she murmured, so quietly only he could hear. That's done. The reception was exactly what Adrian expected. Elegant, expensive, and awkward as hell. They sat at a table for 2, plates of food neither of them touched. Guests approached in waves to offer congratulations that felt hollow. Vanessa played her part perfectly, smiling and thanking them, her hand occasionally resting on Adrian's arm in a gesture that looked affectionate and felt like ice. How did you two meet? Someone asked. A woman in pearls, probably a board member. Through mutual friends, Vanessa answered smoothly. Sometimes the best things happen when you're not looking. The lie came so easily, Adrian almost believed it. He watched her work the room, this woman who was now legally his wife. She was good at this, the small talk, the gracious smiles, the way she made everyone feel important for exactly the right amount of time before moving on. It was a performance, carefully calibrated. He wondered if anything about her was real. You're quiet, Vanessa said when they had a moment alone. Regretting it already? No, Adrian said, just thinking. Dangerous habit. Yeah, well, he took a drink of champagne he didn't want. I'm full of those. Something shifted in her expression. We should talk. Later. About expectations. Sure. I mean it. Her voice dropped lower. I know this is strange for both of us, but we should establish some ground rules, how this is going to work. Adrian nodded. Makes sense. Good. She stood, smoothing her dress. I need to make the rounds. Smile at everyone, play the happy bride. You're good at it. I've had practice. There was something bitter in her tone. She walked away before he could ask what she meant. The resort had given them the best suite, penthouse level, ocean views, a bed big enough to sleep 4 people. Adrian stood in the doorway, taking it in. His duffel bag looked pathetic against the white marble and gold fixtures. Vanessa was already inside, kicking off her heels with a sigh of relief. These things are torture devices, she muttered, massaging one foot. Then she seemed to remember he was there. She straightened, that cool mask sliding back into place. I'll take the bedroom. You can have the couch. It pulls out. Works for me. Good. She moved toward the bedroom, then paused. We should probably, people will expect... What? She turned to face him, and for the first time she looked genuinely uncomfortable. We're married. On paper. But this is a business arrangement. I want to be clear about that. Crystal clear, Adrian said up. Trust me, I'm not expecting anything. Something flashed across her face. Relief? Disappointment? Good. That's good. She disappeared into the bedroom. Adrian heard the door lock click. He stood there for a long moment, still in his tuxedo, in a room that cost more per night than his monthly rent used to be, married to a woman who'd just locked herself away from him. This was going to be a long 2 years. He couldn't sleep. The pull-out couch was actually comfortable. Of course it was. Everything in this place was top tier. But Adrian's mind wouldn't shut off. He kept thinking about Maya, about the contract, about the way Vanessa's hand had trembled when she held that bouquet. Around midnight, he heard movement from the bedroom. Then the door opened. Vanessa stood in the doorway, backlit by the bedroom light. She'd changed into a silk robe, her hair down now, falling past her shoulders. She looked younger like this, less armored. Can't sleep either? She asked. No. I have wine, if you want. It felt like an olive branch. Sure. She brought out 2 glasses and a bottle of red that probably cost more than his car. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, maintaining careful distance. This is weird, Vanessa said after a moment. Yeah. I've never been married before. Me neither, Adrian said. Then because he felt like he owed her some honesty. Not legally, anyway. I have a daughter, Maya. Her mom and I were together for 5 years, but we never made it official. Vanessa looked at him with new interest. You have a daughter? 4 years old. She's with my mother right now. You didn't mention her before. It didn't come up. Adrian took a drink. Does it matter? No, I just... Vanessa paused. You're doing this for her, the money. It wasn't a question, but he answered anyway. Yeah, her mom left when she was 18 months old, just walked out. No note, no explanation. I've been raising Maya alone since then. That must be hard. It is. Adrian met her eyes. But she's worth it. She's worth everything. Vanessa was quiet for a moment, studying him. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone more calculating, I guess. Someone who saw this as just a transaction. Isn't that what it is? Yes, but she said it slowly, like she wasn't entirely sure anymore. My lawyers vetted you thoroughly. Ex-graphic designer, freelancing now, no criminal record, no scandal, no social media drama, clean, safe, perfect for what I needed. Which is? Vanessa swirled her wine. Control. Or the appearance of it. I'm the CEO of Laurent Industries. 28,000 employees, operations in 40 countries. I built that company from almost nothing after my father died, and there are still board members who think I'm too young, too female, too unmarried to lead effectively. That's bullshit. Of course it is, but it's also reality. She took a long drink. Image matters in my world. Perception is currency. A husband signals stability, maturity. It ticks a box that shouldn't exist, but does. So I'm a box ticker. You're a solution to a problem. Adrian should have been offended. Instead, he appreciated the honesty. Fair enough? They drank in silence for a while. The ocean was loud tonight, waves crashing against the cliffs below. Can I ask you something? Adrian said. Go ahead. Why me? I mean, you could have found someone in your circle. Someone who fits better. Vanessa's laugh was sharp. My circle is full of ambitious men who would see this as an opportunity. They'd want real power, real access, real control over my company. You're different because you don't want any of that. You want money for your daughter and then you want to walk away. It makes you trustworthy. That's pretty cynical. That's pretty accurate. Adrian couldn't argue with that. What happens after the 2 years? Clean divorce, amicable split. You get your payout. I get to say I tried marriage and it didn't work out. Everyone moves on. Simple as that. Simple as that. But nothing about this felt simple. Vanessa finished her wine and stood. I should try to sleep. We have breakfast with the resort manager tomorrow morning. Photo opportunity. They're donating to my foundation in exchange for the publicity. Right. The perfect couple. Exactly. She paused at the bedroom door. Thank you, by the way. For what? For being professional about this, for understanding what it is. Sure. She went inside and closed the door. No lock this time, Adrian noticed. He lay back on the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince himself this was fine. This was smart. This was the right choice for Maya. But something nagged at him. The way Vanessa's voice had softened when he talked about his daughter. The way she'd looked at him during the ceremony. The way that kiss had felt. Stop it, he told himself. This is business. She said it herself. Don't be an idiot. He was still awake when dawn started breaking over the ocean. Us. The knock on the bedroom door came at 7:30. Vanessa? Adrian called. Breakfast is in 30 minutes. No answer. He knocked again, louder. You awake? The door opened. Vanessa looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her face pale. She was still in her robe. I'm not feeling well, she said quietly. What's wrong? Migraine. I get them sometimes when I'm stressed. She winced at the light streaming through the windows. Can you tell them I can't make it? Sure, but please. Her voice cracked slightly. I just need darkness and quiet. Adrian had never seen her like this. Vulnerable, unguarded, almost fragile. Okay. I'll handle it. Do you need anything? Medicine? Water? I have medication. I just need to sleep. She closed the door. Adrian stood there for a moment, then went to call the front desk and cancel. The resort manager was disappointed but understanding. Adrian spent breakfast alone on the terrace, answering polite questions from staff and deflecting concerns about his absent bride. When he returned to the suite around 10, it was dark and silent. He checked the bedroom door, still closed. He worked for a few hours on his laptop, taking care of emails and finishing up a logo design for a client. Around 2 in the afternoon, he ordered room service: soup, toast, tea, safe foods. He knocked softly. "Vanessa, I have food if you want it." A long pause. Then, "Come in." She was in bed, propped up on pillows, looking marginally better than this morning. The curtains were drawn, blocking out most of the light. "How's your head?" Adrian asked, setting the tray on the bedside table. "Better. Still hurts, but better." "I brought food. You should eat something." "I'm not hungry." "Try anyway." She gave him a look that might have been annoyed or might have been amused, hard to tell in the dim light. But she took the tea, sipped it carefully. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I know. Most people would have just left me alone. I'm not most people." Vanessa studied him over the rim of her cup. "No, you're not." Adrian sat in the chair beside the bed. "You want me to go?" "No." She said it quickly, then seemed surprised by her own answer. "I mean, you can stay, if you want." So he stayed. They didn't talk much. Vanessa dozed on and off, and Adrian sat there reading on his phone, occasionally checking if she needed anything. It was strangely peaceful, this quiet companionship with a woman who was supposed to be a stranger. Around 5, Vanessa woke up properly, the migraine finally gone. "Thank you," she said, "for today, for taking care of things. No problem." "I'm serious, Adrian. You could have made this difficult, could have complained or made me feel guilty. You didn't. Why would I? You were sick." She looked at him for a long moment. "Most men in my life have only ever been kind when they wanted something. I'm not trying to get anything from you." "I know. That's what makes you different." Something shifted in the air between them. Adrian felt it, a current of connection he hadn't expected, didn't want, couldn't quite ignore. "I should let you rest," he said, standing. "Adrian?" He turned back. "Yeah? Would you—" She hesitated. "Would you stay? Just for a while longer. I don't really want to be alone." It was the most honest thing she'd said to him, the most real. "Sure," Adrian said, sitting back down. "I can stay." They ordered dinner to the room. Real dinner this time. Vanessa was hungry now, her appetite back. They ate on the bed because that was where she was comfortable, plates balanced on their laps, some cooking competition playing softly on the TV. "This is probably the least glamorous wedding night in history," Vanessa said. "Probably." "Does it bother you?" "No." Adrian meant it. "This is nice, actually. Normal." "Normal." She said the word like it was foreign. "I don't think I've had normal in years." "What do you have instead?" "Expectations. Obligations. Performances." She picked at her food. "I took over Laurent Industries when I was 25. My father died suddenly, heart attack, and I inherited everything, the company, the board, the vultures circling waiting for me to fail." "But you didn't fail." "No. I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I learned every aspect of the business. I fired the dead weight, promoted the talented people, made the hard calls no one else wanted to make. And I proved them all wrong." There was pride in her voice, but also exhaustion. "But it never stops. There's always another crisis, another challenge, another person questioning whether I deserve to be there." "That sounds lonely." "It is." She looked at him. "I haven't had a real relationship in 4 years. Every man I've dated either wanted access to my money or my company, or they were intimidated by both. After a while, I stopped trying." "So you married a stranger instead." "I married someone who doesn't want anything from me except what's in the contract. It felt safer." Adrian understood that. "My ex, Maya's mom, she left because I wasn't enough. Not successful enough, not ambitious enough, not exciting enough. She wanted someone with prospects, she said, someone going somewhere. And I was just a designer struggling to make freelance work pay the bills." "She sounds awful." "She was human, flawed, like the rest of us." Adrian set down his plate. But yeah, it messed me up, made me feel like I was fundamentally not good enough, that no matter what I did, I'd always fall short. You're good enough for your daughter. Maya's the only person who's never made me feel like I needed to be different. Vanessa reached out, tentative, and touched his hand. Just her fingers against his knuckles, but it felt like more. I'm glad you're here, she said quietly. I know that's not part of the arrangement. I know this is supposed to be business, but right now I'm glad. Adrian's heart was beating too fast. This was dangerous territory. Feelings weren't part of the contract. Feelings would complicate everything. But her hand was warm, and her eyes were soft, and he was tired of pretending this didn't feel like something real. I'm glad too, he admitted. They stayed like that for a moment, hands touching, something unspoken building between them. Then Vanessa pulled away, clearing her throat. We should get some sleep. We're flying back tomorrow. Right, yeah. Adrian started to stand, but Vanessa caught his wrist. You don't have to go back to the couch, she said. The bed is huge. We could just sleep. If you want. Every rational part of his brain screamed that this was a bad idea, that crossing this line, even innocently, would make everything more complicated. But the lonely part of him, the part that had been cold and isolated for so long, wanted this desperately. Okay, he said. They settled on opposite sides of the bed, a careful space between them. Adrian turned off the lights. In the darkness, he could hear Vanessa breathing, could feel her presence like heat. Adrian? Her voice was small. I'm scared. Of what? That this won't stay simple. That I'll start wanting things I shouldn't want. He should have reassured her. Should have said something professional and detached. Instead, he told the truth. Me too. Silence. Then movement. Vanessa shifted closer, closing the distance between them. Not touching, but near enough that he could feel her warmth. Just for tonight, she whispered. Can we pretend this is real? Adrian's throat was tight. What do you mean? I mean, she took a shaky breath. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of everything being a transaction. Just for tonight, can we pretend we're actually married? Actually chose each other? It was the worst idea. It would make everything harder. Yes, Adrian said. Vanessa moved into his arms, and he held her, feeling her body relax against his. She fit perfectly, like she belonged there. Her hair smelled like jasmine. Her breathing slowed, deepened. Thank you, she murmured against his chest. Adrian kissed the top of her head without thinking. It felt natural. Right. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, pretending to be something they weren't, both knowing they were crossing a line that shouldn't be crossed. But for tonight, neither of them cared. Adrian woke first. Dawn light filtered through the curtains. Vanessa was still asleep, her head on his shoulder, one arm draped across his chest. She looked peaceful, young. The hard edges she carried during the day were gone. He should move, should disentangle himself before this got any more complicated. He didn't move. Vanessa stirred, her eyes opening slowly. For a second, she looked confused. Then awareness came back. Where she was, who she was with. Adrian waited for her to pull away, to rebuild those walls. Instead, she stayed right where she was. Hi, she said softly. Hi. Did you sleep okay? Yeah, you? Best I've slept in months. They were still holding each other. Neither of them moved to change that. This is probably a bad idea, Vanessa said. Probably. We should keep this professional. That was the agreement. It was. But I don't want to. Her voice was barely a whisper. I don't want to go back to being strangers. Adrian's heart hammered against his ribs. This was the moment, the choice. He could pull back, keep it safe, protect them both from the inevitable complications, or he could jump. He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. Neither do I. Vanessa's breath caught. What are we doing? I don't know. This wasn't the plan. No. We barely know each other. True. This could ruin everything. It could. Vanessa's hand came up to cover his, pressing his palm against her cheek. Kiss me anyway. Adrian did. It wasn't like the ceremony, brief and appropriate and staged for an audience. This was slow, deep, real. Vanessa made a small sound in her throat, her fingers tangling in his hair. Adrian pulled her closer, 7 years of loneliness and need pouring into this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vanessa's eyes were wide. "Oh," she said. "Yeah. We're in trouble, aren't we?" Adrian laughed, the sound rough. So much trouble. But neither of them pulled away. Instead, Vanessa kissed him again and again, until morning became afternoon and the world outside the room ceased to exist. There was no discussion, no negotiation, just two people who had been alone too long finding warmth in each other. Vanessa's robe ended up on the floor, Adrian's shirt followed. Every touch was reverent, careful, loaded with the weight of walls coming down. "Are you sure?" Adrian asked when they reached the point of no return. Vanessa pulled him closer. "I haven't been sure of anything in years, but this? You? Yes, I'm sure." What happened next wasn't just physical. It was Adrian learning the geography of Vanessa's body, the scar on her shoulder from a childhood bike accident, the way she shivered when he kissed her neck, the soft sounds she made that broke his heart with their vulnerability. It was Vanessa discovering that Adrian was patient, attentive, completely focused on her pleasure before his own, that he touched her like she was precious, that he made her feel safe enough to let go. Afterward, they lay tangled together, skin against skin, both breathing hard. "That wasn't supposed to happen," Vanessa said, but she was smiling. "No. We're terrible at following our own rules. Absolutely terrible." She traced patterns on his chest. "What happens now?" Adrian didn't have an answer. The contract hadn't included a clause for falling into bed with your fake wife, for starting to feel things that weren't supposed to be part of the deal. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I don't regret it." "Neither do I." Vanessa tilted her head to look at him. "That scares me." "Why?" "Because this was supposed to be simple, clean, 2 years and done. But this," she gestured between them, "this isn't simple. No. I don't know how to do this, Adrian. How to navigate something real when everything in my life is calculated and controlled." Adrian kissed her forehead. "We figure it out as we go." "What if we can't? Then we deal with that when it happens. But right now, in this moment, let's just be honest. Do you want this to be real?" Vanessa was quiet for a long time. Then, "Yes. God help me, yes." Relief flooded through him. "Me too. But we have to be smart about it. The contract still stands. The arrangement is still what everyone expects. We add this. Between us. Private. I can live with that." They had a few more hours before the flight back to reality. They spent it learning each other, not just bodies, but stories. Adrian told her about Maya's favorite bedtime story, about the small apartment they shared, about his dreams of starting his own design firm someday. Vanessa talked about board meetings and corporate warfare, but also about the garden she kept at her estate, the thriller novels she devoured, the loneliness of sitting at the top. By the time they had to pack and leave, something had fundamentally shifted. They weren't strangers anymore. They were something undefined and fragile and terrifying. On the flight back, sitting in the private jet Vanessa had chartered, Adrian watched her work on her laptop, emails and spreadsheets, and the constant demands of running an empire. She looked every inch the CEO again, polished and professional, but every so often, she'd glance over at him and smile. A real smile, soft and private, meant just for him. And Adrian would smile back, thinking about how thoroughly they'd destroyed their own carefully laid plans. How what started as a contract had become something else entirely. How completely screwed they both were. The estate sat in the mountains 2 hours north of the city, surrounded by pine forests and silence. Adrian had seen pictures during the contract negotiations, but photos didn't capture the scale of it. The sprawling stone mansion with its endless windows, the manicured grounds that seemed to stretch for miles, the kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself because it simply was. This was home now. For the next 2 years, anyway. "It's bigger in person," he said as the car wound up the long driveway. Vanessa glanced up from her phone. "You get used to it." "Do you?" She didn't answer. The staff was waiting when they arrived. Housekeeper, groundskeeper, personal assistant, chef. 8 people whose job was to keep this massive place running, to anticipate Vanessa's needs before she had them. They greeted her warmly, welcomed Adrian with polite professionalism, and discreetly disappeared to let them settle in. "Your room is in the East Wing," Vanessa said, her voice carefully neutral. "Unless you'd prefer, show me." She led him through hallways lined with art that probably belonged in museums, past sitting rooms and libraries, and spaces that served purposes Adrian couldn't even guess at. His room was twice the size of his old apartment, with a king bed, a fireplace, and windows overlooking the mountains. "The closet's already stocked," Vanessa said, opening a door to reveal clothes he definitely hadn't owned yesterday. "I had my assistant order basics. If anything doesn't fit or you need something else, just let Margaret know." Adrian touched one of the shirts. Expensive cotton, perfectly pressed. "This is weird." "What is?" "All of this. The house, the staff, the fact that someone bought me a whole new wardrobe." He turned to face her. "I'm still me, Vanessa. I don't know how to be the person who lives here." "You'll learn," but her voice was softer now, less businesslike. "It's overwhelming at first. I felt the same way when I inherited this place." "Did you feel overwhelmed?" "I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. My father built his company from nothing, but we didn't have money until I was in high school. This," she gestured around them, "this still doesn't feel real sometimes." Adrian stepped closer. They'd barely touched since leaving Cape Haven, maintaining careful distance on the flight, in the car. But now, alone in this massive house, the space between them felt charged. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. Vanessa's breath hitched. "The staff aren't here. They could come back. So we'll hear them." She looked at him for a long moment, and he could see the war happening behind her eyes. Want versus control. Desire versus the rules she'd built her life around. Want won. She closed the distance, and Adrian caught her, pulling her against him as their mouths met. The kiss was hungry, desperate, loaded with the tension of hours spent pretending they were still just playing their roles. "This is complicated," Vanessa murmured against his lips. "I know. We should keep it separate, public and private, professional during the day." "Okay?" "I mean it, Adrian. I have meetings, appearances, obligations. The board can't know this is anything but what we told them." "I understand." She pulled back slightly, studying his face. "Do you? Because if this gets out, if anyone thinks I married you for anything other than practical reasons, it undermines everything. They'll say I'm emotional, that I let feelings cloud my judgment, that I'm not fit to lead." The bitterness in her voice cut him. "That's bullshit. That's reality." She stepped away, putting distance between them again. "I'm not asking you to like it. I'm asking you to understand it." Adrian did understand. He'd spent years being told he wasn't good enough, that his choices were proof he couldn't handle real responsibility. He knew what it felt like to have every decision questioned, every mistake magnified. "So what are we?" he asked. "In private?" Vanessa's expression softened. "I don't know. Something. We're figuring it out." "And in public?" "In public, we're exactly what the contract says. A married couple maintaining appropriate appearances." It should have felt cold, clinical. But Adrian saw the vulnerability underneath, Vanessa trying to protect herself, to maintain control in the one area of her life where she could. "Okay," he said. "We'll do it your way." Relief flickered across her face. "Thank you." She left him to unpack. Adrian stood in his new bedroom, surrounded by expensive furniture and borrowed clothes, and wondered what the hell he'd gotten himself into. His phone rang. His sister. "Hey, Jen." "Oh, thank God you're alive. I was starting to think you'd been murdered by your billionaire wife." "She's not a murderer." "Yet. How was the wedding? How's married life? Are you swimming in money and regret?" Adrian laughed despite himself. "It's complicated." Complicated how? He couldn't tell her the truth, that he'd slept with Vanessa, that he was starting to feel things that weren't part of the plan, that everything was already more tangled than it should be. The NDA he'd signed was thorough. "Just adjusting," he said. "The house is insane. There are people whose entire job is to make sure the flowers are fresh." Living the dream. Living something. Adrian sat on the edge of the bed. "How's Maya?" "She's good. Asked about you this morning. I told her you'd call soon. Guilt twisted in his chest. Can I talk to her? She's napping, but Adrian, when are you bringing her there? She needs to see you. Know you're okay. Soon. I just need to get settled first. It's been 3 days. I know. Jen was quiet for a moment. Is everything okay? Really? No. Everything was complicated and messy and nothing like he'd planned. But he couldn't say that. Yeah, Adrian lied. Everything's fine. After they hung up, he stared at his phone, at Maya's picture on the screen, her gap-toothed grin, her wild curls, her absolute faith that her dad would always be there for her. He was doing this for her. The money, the contract, all of it. He needed to remember that. Even if it was getting harder to remember why that felt like enough. The first week passed in a strange blur. Vanessa left early every morning for her office downtown, returning late with exhaustion etched into her face. Adrian spent his days working on freelance projects, exploring the massive house, video calling with Maya. They were polite to each other over the dinners Margaret prepared, professional in front of the staff. And at night, after everyone else had gone home or to their own quarters, Vanessa would knock on Adrian's door. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. But she always ended up in his bed, curled against him like she needed the contact to breathe. Tell me about your day, she'd say, and Adrian would recount the mundane details of his freelance work, the funny thing Maya said on their video call, the fact that he'd gotten lost trying to find the library and ended up in what appeared to be a ballroom. Vanessa would laugh, the sound soft and genuine, so different from her boardroom persona. And then she'd talk about her own day, the deal that fell through, the executive who questioned her strategy, the constant pressure of proving herself over and over again. I'm tired, she admitted one night, her voice muffled against his chest. I'm so tired of fighting. Adrian held her closer. Then stop. I can't. If I stop, they win. If I show any weakness, they'll use it against me. That's paranoid. That's experience. He kissed the top of her head, breathing in the jasmine scent of her hair. You don't have to be strong here. Not with me. Vanessa tilted her face up to look at him, and in the dim light her eyes were wet. What are we doing, Adrian? I don't know. This isn't what I planned. Me neither. I didn't want to need you. I know. She kissed him then, and it felt like surrender, like admitting something she'd been fighting. They made love slowly, carefully, and afterward Vanessa fell asleep in his arms. Adrian lay awake, staring at the ceiling, terrified by how much this was starting to mean. The shift happened on a Tuesday. Vanessa had a major presentation to the board that morning, some expansion deal she'd been working on for months. She'd been stressed about it all week, snapping at her assistant, barely eating, staying up late to rehearse her talking points. Adrian had held her the night before, listened to her run through the presentation, told her she was going to kill it. You always say that, she'd murmured, because it's always true. She'd smiled, kissed him, fallen asleep wrapped around him. But the next morning, everything changed. Adrian was working in his room when he heard her heels clicking down the hallway, fast, purposeful. Her office door slammed. He gave her space. Whatever had happened at the board meeting, she clearly needed to process it alone. An hour passed, then 2. Finally, Adrian knocked on her office door. What? Her voice was sharp. Can I come in? I'm busy. He opened the door anyway. Vanessa stood at the window, her back to him, shoulders rigid. Even from across the room, he could feel the tension radiating off her. What happened? Adrian asked. Nothing. The presentation went fine. Vanessa, I said I'm busy, Adrian. I have work to do. He should have left. Should have respected the boundary she was clearly trying to establish. But something in her voice, the brittleness, the forced control, made him stay. Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. Bullshit. She spun around and her face was composed, perfectly blank. The mask she wore for the world. I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. You can go. No. Excuse me? I said no. Adrian closed the distance between them. You don't get to do this. You don't get to shut me out after everything. After everything? Her laugh was cold. We've known each other for 2 weeks, Adrian. Don't pretend this is more than it is. The words hit like a punch. Adrian actually flinched. What are you doing? He asked quietly. Being realistic. We got carried away, that's all. It was fun, but it's time to refocus on what this actually is. Which is a business arrangement, a contract. You're not my boyfriend, Adrian. You're my employee. The cruelty in her voice was deliberate, designed to hurt. Adrian knew that, could see the pain underneath the coldness, but it hurt anyway. I don't believe you. Believe whatever you want, but I need you to leave my office now. Adrian stood there for a long moment, studying her face, looking for any crack in the armor. But Vanessa held firm, her expression ice. Fine, he said finally. I'll go. He made it to the door before she spoke again. Adrian. He turned. Vanessa's mask had slipped just for a second. He saw the anguish there, the fear, before she locked it away again. I'm sorry, she said. But this is how it has to be. Then she turned back to the window, dismissing him. Adrian left. The next few days were hell. Vanessa stopped coming to his room at night, stopped seeking him out at all, actually. They ate meals in silence, passed each other in hallways without speaking, existed in the same massive house like ghosts. Adrian tried to give her space, tried to respect whatever she was going through, but it was killing him. This sudden coldness after the intimacy they'd shared. He called Jen, desperate for perspective. She's shutting you out, his sister said bluntly. Classic self-sabotage. Or she meant what she said, that it was just sex, nothing serious. Do you believe that? Adrian thought about the way Vanessa had looked at him in Cape Haven, the way she'd fallen asleep in his arms every night, the way she'd smiled when he made her laugh. No, he admitted. So what are you going to do about it? What can I do? She made it clear she wants distance. And you're just going to accept that? Give up? I don't know, Jen. This whole situation is messed up. Maybe she's right. Maybe we got too close too fast and this is the correction. Or maybe she's scared and pushing you away before you can hurt her, which is what people do when they've been burned before. Adrian hadn't thought about it that way. You think? I think you need to figure out what you actually want here. Is this just a job to you? A paycheck for Maya? Or do you actually care about this woman? That was the question, wasn't it? Adrian had gone into this marriage with clear eyes. It was transactional, temporary, a means to an end. He wasn't supposed to develop real feelings. Wasn't supposed to care whether Vanessa smiled or not, whether she slept well, whether something had hurt her. But he did care. Somehow, in 2 weeks, this woman had gotten under his skin. I care, he said quietly. More than I should. Then fight for her, you idiot. It's not that simple. It never is. But you're not a quitter, Adrian, so quit acting like one. After they hung up, Adrian sat in his room, thinking. Vanessa was scared. He understood that now. Something had happened at that board meeting, something that had triggered her retreat. And her response was to slam the walls back up, to push him away before he could get any closer. He could let her. Could maintain the distance, keep things professional like the contract stipulated. It would be easier, safer. Or he could call her on her bullshit. Adrian found her in the library 3 nights later, curled up in a leather chair with a book she wasn't reading. We need to talk, he said. Vanessa didn't look up. I told you, I know what you told me, that this is just business, that I'm just an employee, that what happened between us didn't mean anything. Adrian sat down across from her. And I think you're lying. Now she looked at him. Her expression was carefully neutral. Adrian, what happened at the board meeting? Nothing. Try again. Vanessa's jaw tightened. It's not your concern. Humor me anyway. For a long moment she said nothing. Then quietly, they approved the expansion. Everything I'd worked on, everything I'd planned, it passed. That's good, right? Yes, except afterward, Richard, he's one of the senior board members. He congratulated me, said I was doing a remarkable job. For a woman my age. Vanessa's voice was flat. Then he asked if my new husband had helped with the presentation, if having a man's perspective had made the difference. Adrian's hands clenched. That's exactly what I expected. But it still... She looked away. It still hurt. Because for a second I wondered if he was right, if having you in my life had made me softer, more emotional, less focused. That's insane, is it? I've been distracted, Adrian, thinking about you when I should be thinking about work, wanting to come home instead of staying late at the office, feeling things I haven't let myself feel in years. Her voice cracked, and it scared me, because the moment I let my guard down, someone will use it against me. Adrian moved to kneel in front of her chair, taking her hands. So you pushed me away. It was the smart thing to do. It was the coward's thing to do. Vanessa jerked back like he'd slapped her. Excuse me? You heard me, you got scared, so you hurt me first, before I could hurt you, before this could become something real that might actually matter. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Your ex or someone else made you believe that caring about someone makes you weak, that needing someone gives them power over you. So you keep everyone at arm's length, and you tell yourself it's strength when really it's just fear. Tears spilled down Vanessa's cheeks. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Adrian's voice softened. I spent 3 years after Maya's mom left convinced I was fundamentally broken, that I wasn't enough. And I built walls so high no one could get close enough to prove me right. He squeezed her hands. But then I met you, and you made me want to try again. Made me want to risk it. Adrian, I'm not asking you to be perfect, Vanessa. I'm not asking you to have all the answers or never be scared. I'm just asking you to be honest, to stop pretending this doesn't matter when we both know it does. Vanessa was crying openly now, all that careful control shattered. I don't know how to do this, how to be vulnerable without falling apart. You don't have to know. We figure it out together. What if I hurt you? What if you don't? She looked at him for a long moment. This broken, brilliant woman who'd been fighting alone for so long she'd forgotten how to let anyone help. I'm terrified, she whispered. Me too. I don't want to need you this much. Too late. You already do. Adrian stood, pulling her up with him. And I already need you, so we're both screwed. Vanessa laughed through her tears. This is such a mess. Yeah, but it's our mess. She kissed him then, desperate, grateful, still crying. Adrian held her tight, feeling her shake against him. I'm sorry, she murmured against his mouth. I'm so sorry for what I said. You're not just an employee. You're not just anything. I know. I was trying to protect myself. I know that too. They stood there in the library, holding each other, while outside the windows night settled over the mountains. Eventually, Vanessa pulled back enough to look at him. I have issues, she said. A lot of them. I'm controlling and closed off, and I don't know how to let people in. Okay. I'm serious, Adrian. I'm going to mess this up, push you away again, say things I don't mean because I'm scared. Probably. And you're still willing to try. Adrian tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. My ex walked out on me and our daughter without explanation. I have trust issues, abandonment issues, and a 4-year-old who's going to need to meet you eventually and might hate you. I work too much, I'm terrible at asking for help, and I still have nightmares about not being good enough. Vanessa smiled slightly. We're a disaster. Complete disaster. But you still want this? I want you, however messy it gets. She kissed him again, softer this time. Take me to bed? Your bed or mine? Does it matter anymore? It didn't. They ended up in Vanessa's room, the master suite Adrian had never been invited into. It was beautiful in an impersonal way, like a luxury hotel, nothing that revealed who she actually was. I hate this room, Vanessa admitted as Adrian looked around. It was my father's. I changed the furniture after he died, but it still doesn't feel like mine. So make it yours. How? Adrian pulled her close. Start by filling it with things that matter. People who matter. They made love slowly, rebuilding what had cracked between them. Afterward, Vanessa lay with her head on Adrian's chest, tracing patterns on his skin. Tell me about her, she said. Your ex. What happened? Adrian had been avoiding this conversation, but Vanessa had been honest with him. He owed her the same. Her name was Rachel. We met in college, dated for a couple years, moved in together after graduation. Things were good at first, but I was struggling professionally. Freelance design work is inconsistent. And she got frustrated, said I wasn't ambitious enough, wasn't going anywhere. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it was how she felt. Adrian stared at the ceiling. When she got pregnant, I thought it would bring us closer, that having Maya would give us purpose. Instead, it made everything worse. Rachel hated being pregnant, hated being home with a baby, hated that I was working from home trying to keep us afloat financially while she felt trapped. Vanessa's fingers stilled on his chest. When Maya was 18 months old, I came home one day and Rachel was just gone. No note, no explanation. She'd packed her things and left. It took me 3 days to track her down, and when I did, she told me she couldn't do it anymore. Being a mom, being with me. She wanted out. What did you do? I begged her to come back, to try again, to think about Maya. Adrian's voice went flat. She said Maya was better off without her, that I was better off without her. Then she signed away her parental rights and disappeared. Oh, Adrian. I spent months thinking I'd driven her away. That if I'd been more successful, more exciting, more something, she would have stayed. And every relationship since then, I've kept people at arm's length. Because if I couldn't make it work with the mother of my child, how could I make it work with anyone? Vanessa lifted her head to look at him. You know that's not true, right? Her leaving wasn't about you. It was about her not being ready, not being capable. Logically, yes. Emotionally? Adrian shrugged. Still working on that. I get it. My last relationship ended because he told me I was too focused on work, that I cared more about the company than about us. And he was right. I did. Because the company was mine, and he was just there, using me for access, for status. She paused. After that, I stopped trying, told myself I didn't need romantic connection, that it was a distraction from what mattered. And now I'm lying in bed with my contract husband, terrified out of my mind, but also happier than I've been in years. Vanessa kissed his jaw. You make me want to try again, to believe I can have both, the career and the person. You can. How do you know? Because I've seen you, Vanessa. You're incredible at what you do, and that doesn't make you less capable of love. It makes you more human. She was quiet for a long time. Then, when can I meet her, Maya? The question caught Adrian off guard. You want to meet her? Of course I do. She's your daughter. She's important to you. Vanessa sat up slightly. Unless you don't think it's a good idea. I understand if you want to keep that separate. No, I want you to meet her. Adrian pulled her back down. I'm just surprised. This is getting real, you know, introducing you to my kid. That's big. Is it too big? Maybe, but let's do it anyway. Vanessa smiled. Okay. When? Next weekend? I could bring her here. We could do something low-key. I'd like that. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time since returning from Cape Haven, Adrian felt like maybe this could actually work. The next morning, Vanessa was still in bed when Adrian woke up. Usually she was gone by dawn, already showered and dressed for work. But today she lay there, watching him. Hi, she said softly. Hi. No meetings? I canceled them. Adrian blinked. You did what? I canceled my morning meetings, told my assistant I was working from home today. Vanessa smiled. I thought we could have breakfast together, like actual married people. Who are you, and what have you done with my workaholic wife? She smacked his chest lightly. Don't make me regret this. They had breakfast on the terrace. Margaret had outdone herself with fresh pastries and fruit and coffee that actually tasted good. Vanessa was different this morning. Lighter. The tension that usually lived in her shoulders was gone. I've been thinking, she said, buttering a croissant, about what you said. Making this room mine. Making this whole house feel less like a mausoleum. Yeah? I want to change things. Bring in furniture I actually like. Art that means something. Make it feel like a home instead of a showplace. That sounds good. And I want you involved. Your input, because you live here too. She paused. If you want to, live here, in my room, officially. Adrian set down his coffee. You sure? The staff already knows we're together. We're not fooling anyone. So why pretend? Vanessa reached across the table to take his hand. I want you in my bed every night, Adrian. I want to wake up next to you. I want this to be real. Even though it complicates things? especially because it complicates things. I'm tired of playing it safe, tired of being alone. Adrian brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. Then yes, I'll move my stuff. They spent the day together, something they hadn't done since Cape Haven. Vanessa gave him a real tour of the estate, showing him the parts she actually used versus the formal rooms meant for entertaining. They walked through her garden, overgrown now because she hadn't had time to maintain it. I used to spend hours out here, she said, touching the leaves of a rosebush. It was the one place that felt like mine, where I could just be, Not the CEO or the heiress, just me. We could fix it up, Adrian suggested. Together. You know anything about gardening? Not a thing, but I can learn. Vanessa smiled. I'd like that. That night, Adrian officially moved into her room. It felt significant, symbolic, like crossing another line that couldn't be uncrossed. No going back now, Vanessa said, watching him hang his clothes next to hers in the massive closet. You having second thoughts? Not even a little. But Adrian saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, the part of her that was still waiting for this to fall apart. He understood that fear intimately. Hey, he said, pulling her close. We're going to screw this up sometimes. Fight, hurt each other, make mistakes. But we're also going to figure it out, okay? Vanessa nodded against his chest. Okay? They were learning each other, learning how to be together. It wasn't smooth or perfect, but it was real. And for now, that was enough. The weekend Maya was supposed to visit, it rained. Not the gentle kind of rain that pattered against windows and made everything cozy. This was violent. Sheets of water hammering the estate, wind that bent the trees sideways, lightning that split the sky open. The kind of storm that shut down roads and grounded flights. Adrian got the call from his sister at noon. I'm so sorry, Jen said over the crackling connection. The highway's closed, flooding. They're saying it won't clear until tomorrow at the earliest. He'd been looking forward to this for days, had planned everything carefully. Maya's favorite foods, age-appropriate activities, gradually introducing her to Vanessa without overwhelming anyone. Now it was all falling apart. It's okay, Adrian said, even though it wasn't. Keep her safe. We'll reschedule. She's really disappointed. She made you a picture. Adrian's throat tightened. Tell her I love her. Tell her I'll see her soon. After hanging up, he stood at the window watching the storm rage. Vanessa found him there an hour later, still staring out at the rain. Hey, she said softly. You okay? Maya can't make it. Roads are closed. I heard. Vanessa wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her cheek against his back. I'm sorry. It's just weather. Not anyone's fault. You're allowed to be upset anyway. Adrian turned in her arms. Vanessa was in casual clothes, jeans and a soft sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked younger like this, more approachable, real. I miss her, he admitted. It's only been 3 weeks, but I miss her so much it hurts. Then bring her here next weekend, no matter what, storm or not. What if you two don't get along? What if she hates you? Vanessa smiled slightly. Then we'll deal with it. But Adrian, she's 4. I think I can handle a 4-year-old. You've never been around kids. I'll learn. She touched his face. Just like I'm learning everything else with you. The storm got worse as the day wore on. By evening, the power flickered twice before finally dying completely. The backup generator kicked in for essential systems, but most of the house went dark. Margaret and the other staff had left early, beating the worst of the weather. It was just Adrian and Vanessa alone in the massive estate, listening to the wind scream. I haven't seen a storm like this in years, Vanessa said. They were in the library, the fireplace providing the only light. Last time was when I was in college. Campus lost power for 3 days. What did you do? Studied by candlelight like some Victorian heroine. My roommate thought I was insane. Vanessa poured them both wine. She was probably right. Adrian took the glass. You were focused. I was obsessed. Still am, if we're being honest. She sat beside him on the couch, tucking her legs under her. I don't know how to be any other way. That's not true. You've been different lately, more present. Because of you. Because you want to be. Vanessa was quiet for a moment, watching the fire. I got an email today. From Richard. The board member I told you about. Adrian tensed. What did it say? He wants to have lunch, just the two of us, to discuss my leadership style and some concerns he has about my recent decisions. Her voice was carefully neutral, but Adrian heard the anger underneath. That's bullshit. That's politics. He's testing me, seeing if I'll get defensive or emotional. What are you going to do? Have lunch with him. Be professional. Make it clear that my personal life doesn't affect my professional judgment. Vanessa took a long drink. And probably imagined dumping soup in his lap the entire time. Adrian laughed despite the situation. Very mature. I never claimed to be mature, just competent. The lights flickered again, and this time they didn't come back. Even the backup generator died with a mechanical groan that echoed through the house. Great, Vanessa muttered. She pulled out her phone. No signal. Storm must have taken out the cell tower too. They were truly isolated now, cut off from everything. Adrian should have felt anxious. Instead, he felt something else, something almost like relief. When's the last time you were completely unreachable? He asked. Vanessa thought about it. I honestly can't remember. Years, maybe. No emails, no calls, no emergencies you have to handle. It's making me twitchy. I can tell. Adrian set down his wine and pulled her closer. Try to relax. I don't know how. Then let me help. He kissed her neck, that spot just below her ear that made her shiver. Vanessa's breath hitched. Adrian. We should probably figure out where the candles are. Flashlights. Be practical. Probably. Kept kissing her neck down to her collarbone. Or we could stay right here. Vanessa's hands tangled in his hair. The fire will go out eventually. Then we'll keep each other warm. She pulled back slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. In the firelight, hers looked almost gold. You're trying to distract me. Is it working? Annoyingly, yes. But she was smiling. I really should... Thunder cracked directly overhead, so loud it rattled the windows. Vanessa jumped, actually startled. Okay, she said. Maybe staying here is fine. They made love on the couch with the fire burning low and the storm raging outside. Slow and deliberate, learning each other's bodies all over again. Vanessa arched against him, whispering his name like a prayer, and Adrian felt something crack open in his chest. This was more than physical, more than convenient. This was real and terrifying, and he was falling so hard he couldn't see the bottom. Afterward, they lay tangled together under the throw blanket, skin against skin, heartbeats gradually slowing. I have to tell you something, Vanessa said quietly. Adrian's stomach dropped. Those words never led anywhere good. Okay? That lunch with Richard, it's not just about my leadership style. She was quiet for a moment. Someone told him about us, about Cape Haven, about how we were acting. We were careful. Not careful enough, apparently. One of the resort staff must have talked, or another guest noticed something. Vanessa's voice was tight. Richard asked if our marriage was legitimate or if it was some kind of arrangement. What did you say? I told him to mind his own business, but Adrian, if he starts digging, if he finds out about the contract, he won't. Your lawyers made sure everything was airtight. Lawyers can't stop gossip. And if the board thinks I entered into a fraudulent marriage for appearances, they'll use it to question every decision I make. They might even try to force me out. Adrian sat up. That's insane. Your personal life has nothing to do with your ability to run the company. You know that. I know that. But it gives them ammunition. Vanessa pulled the blanket tighter around herself. I've worked so hard to build credibility, to prove I deserve to be where I am, and one rumor could destroy all of it. So what do? We be more careful, professional in public, no slip-ups. She looked at him. I know that's not what you want to hear. It wasn't. Adrian wanted to be able to hold her hand at events, kiss her goodbye when she left for work, act like an actual couple instead of strangers playing a part. But he understood what was at stake. Okay, he said. We'll be careful. Thank you. Vanessa pulled him back down beside her. I hate this. I hate hiding what we have. Me too. But it's temporary. Just until things settle, until I can consolidate my position on the board. How long will that take? I don't know. 6 months? A year? She touched his face. Can you wait that long? Adrian thought about Maya, about the trust fund that would secure her future, about the contract that still had nearly 2 years left to run. He'd signed up for temporary. This was just a different version of the same deal. "Yeah," he said. "I can wait." But even as he said it, he felt the lie. Because waiting meant pretending. And he was getting tired of pretending this didn't matter more than anything else in his life. The storm finally broke around 3 in the morning. Adrian woke to silence. No wind, no rain, just profound quiet. Vanessa was asleep beside him, her face peaceful in the dying firelight. He should have felt content. Instead, anxiety gnawed at him. What were they doing? Playing house in her mansion, sneaking around like teenagers, pretending they could make this work when everything was stacked against them. The contract had an end date, the board was circling, and eventually reality would catch up. Adrian carefully extracted himself from Vanessa's embrace and got dressed. He needed air, space to think. The house was freezing without power. He made his way through dark hallways to the back door, stepping out onto the terrace. The storm had left destruction. Broken branches everywhere, flooding in low areas, one of the garden trellises completely demolished. But the sky was clearing, stars visible between the racing clouds. Couldn't sleep? Adrian turned. Vanessa stood in the doorway, wrapped in a blanket, her hair wild from sleep. "Didn't mean to wake you," he said. "You didn't. I got cold without you there." She joined him on the terrace. "What are you thinking about?" Everything, nothing, the impossible situation they'd created. Just processing. The Richard thing? Among other things. Vanessa was quiet for a moment, then, "Are you regretting this? Us?" "No, never." Adrian turned to face her fully. "But I'm also not stupid, Vanessa. This is complicated. More complicated than either of us planned. I know. And I keep wondering if we're just setting ourselves up to get hurt." "Maybe we are." She stepped closer. "But I'd rather have this and risk getting hurt than go back to how things were before. Lonely and safe and empty. Even if it doesn't last?" "Even then." Vanessa's eyes were fierce. "I spent years protecting myself, building walls, making sure no one could touch me. And you know what? It worked. I was completely safe and completely miserable." Adrian pulled her against him. "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you either, but we probably will, because that's what happens when you actually care about someone. You have the power to wound them." She looked up at him. "But you also have the power to heal them, to make them feel less alone. And I think that's worth the risk." Thunder rumbled in the distance. Another storm coming, or just the last one moving on. "When did you get so wise?" Adrian asked. "About 5 minutes ago. Don't expect consistency." He laughed, kissing her forehead. "Come on. Let's go back inside before we freeze." They went back to the library, rebuilt the fire, spent the rest of the night tangled together. And when morning came with weak sunlight and the power still out, they made breakfast over the fireplace like pioneers. "This is ridiculous," Vanessa said, trying to figure out how to toast bread over an open flame. "This is an adventure. I hate adventures. I like climate control and reliable electricity." Adrian took the bread from her before she burned it. "Liar! You love this." And she was smiling, so maybe he was right. The power came back on around noon. Reality came flooding back with it. Emails, missed calls, messages from Vanessa's assistant about meetings that needed rescheduling. The bubble they'd existed in for 18 hours popped, and suddenly they were back to being CEO and contract husband instead of just Adrian and Vanessa. "I need to go into the office," Vanessa said, already on her laptop, typing rapidly. "There's a situation with one of our suppliers that can't wait." "On Sunday?" Crisis doesn't care about weekends. But she paused, looking at him. "Will you be here when I get back?" The question held weight, like she was asking something deeper. "Yeah," Adrian said. "I'll be here." She kissed him quickly, already distracted, already back in work mode. Within 30 minutes, she was dressed, professional, driving away in her sleek car. Adrian stood in the massive house, alone again. His phone had a dozen messages from Jen, all checking in. He called her back. "Thank God," his sister said. "I was about to send a search party. The news said your area got hit hard. We lost power for a while, but we're fine." "We? So things are going well with the wife?" Adrian thought about the past 18 hours, making love by firelight, talking until dawn, feeling less alone than he had in years. Yeah, really well. But, but nothing. Adrian, I've known you your entire life. I can hear the but in your voice. He sighed. It's just complicated, Jen. We're trying to keep things private because of her work situation, but I'm tired of hiding, and I keep thinking about the contract, about how this all has an expiration date. So tear up the contract. It's not that simple. Why not? You care about her. She obviously cares about you. Make it real. It is real, but that doesn't change the circumstances. She needs me to be the stable, professional husband for her board, and I need the financial security for Maya. We can't just change the terms because we caught feelings. Why not? Jen repeated. Adrian, life is short. Happiness is rare. If you found something good, don't sabotage it because it doesn't fit the plan. After they hung up, Adrian sat in the too-quiet house, thinking. Vanessa came home at 8 that night, exhausted and frustrated. Supplier tried to renegotiate our contract mid-production, she said, dropping her bag by the door. Spent all afternoon convincing them that was a terrible idea. Did you win? Of course I won, but it was exhausting. She kicked off her heels. I'm going to take a shower. Have you eaten? Not yet. Me neither. Maybe we can order something. She disappeared upstairs. Adrian heard the water start running. He should have felt content. She was home. They were together. Everything was fine. But Jen's words kept echoing. Why not make it real? Why keep pretending this was temporary when every day it felt more permanent? He was still thinking about it when Vanessa came back down, hair damp, wearing sweats and looking more like herself than she had in her work clothes. What's wrong? She asked immediately. Nothing. Adrian. He took a breath. What are we doing here? Vanessa froze. What do you mean? I mean, what's the end game? We keep saying this is real, but we're still operating under the terms of the contract, still planning for an ending. How does that work? I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. Maybe you should. Vanessa's expression shuddered. Are you trying to renegotiate? I'm trying to understand what you want from this. From me. I want what we have now. Why isn't that enough? Because now involves lying to everyone, hiding what we feel, and pretending this has an expiration date when we both know it doesn't. Adrian stood. I'm falling in love with you, Vanessa, and I don't know how to do that temporarily. She stared at him. You're... what? You heard me. Adrian, we agreed. I know what we agreed, but things changed. You said it yourself, you don't want to hide anymore, so don't. It's not that simple. Why not? Because... Vanessa's voice rose. Because if this is real, if we make it real, then it can actually hurt me. Right now, it's a contract. There's an end date, safety. But if I let myself love you, if I let this become permanent, then you have the power to destroy me. I would never... You don't know that. People leave, Adrian. They always leave, and I can't... Her voice cracked. I can't survive that again. Not with you. Adrian crossed to her, taking her hands. Who left you? Everyone. My mother died when I was 12. My father worked so much I barely saw him. Every relationship I've had ended with them walking away. And I learned to be okay with that, to expect it. But you? She looked at him with raw fear in her eyes. You make me want to believe in permanence, in forever, and that terrifies me. Vanessa, don't promise me you'll stay. Don't make vows you can't keep. Just let this be what it is, for now. Please. Adrian wanted to argue, wanted to tell her he wasn't going anywhere, that she could trust him, that they could make this work. But he saw the panic in her face and knew she wasn't ready to hear it. Okay, he said quietly. For now. She exhaled shakily. Thank you. They ordered food neither of them had much appetite for. The rest of the evening was strained, careful. Both of them navigating around the bomb Adrian had dropped. When they went to bed, Vanessa turned away from him, putting space between them for the first time in weeks. Adrian lay there in the dark, staring at her back, feeling the distance like a physical thing. He'd told her the truth. He was falling in love with her, but maybe he should have kept that to himself. Maybe honesty had just broken something that couldn't be fixed. The week that followed was tense. They were polite, civil, but the easy intimacy was gone. Vanessa threw herself into work, leaving early and coming home late. Adrian worked on his projects, video called with Maya, and tried not to feel like he'd ruined everything. Friday night, Vanessa came home at 11. Adrian was still up, working in the study. "We need to talk," she said from the doorway. Adrian's stomach dropped. "Okay." She came in, closed the door behind her. "I've been doing a lot of thinking this week." "Me too. And I've realized something." Vanessa took a breath. "I'm a coward." Adrian blinked. "What?" "You were brave enough to be honest, to tell me how you felt. And I panicked, pushed you away, made you feel like caring about me was a mistake." She sat down across from him. "But it's not. It's the best thing that's happened to me." "Vanessa, let me finish, please." She twisted her hands together. "I'm terrified of this, of you, of how much I need you, but I'm more terrified of losing you because I was too scared to try." Adrian's heart was racing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want this to be temporary. I don't want an end date. I want to figure out how to make this real. Actually real, not just between us, but for everyone." She met his eyes. "I want to tear up the contract and start over, as people who chose each other." "What about the board? Richard? All the reasons you needed this to be an arrangement? I'll handle them. I'll make it clear that my marriage is none of their business and doesn't affect my ability to lead. And if they can't accept that, then maybe I'm working with the wrong board." "That's a big risk." "I know, but you're worth it." Vanessa's voice softened. "You make me want to be braver, to fight for something that matters instead of just fighting to prove myself." Adrian moved to kneel in front of her chair, taking her hands. "Are you sure?" "No, I'm terrified. But I'm sure about you, about us, about wanting to try." "I love you," Adrian said. "I know that scares you, but I need you to know that I'm not going anywhere. You're not going to wake up one day and find me gone." Tears spilled down Vanessa's cheeks. "How can you promise that?" "Because I know what it feels like to be left, to wonder if you're enough, and I would never do that to someone I love." He squeezed her hands. "You are enough, Vanessa. You've always been enough." She pulled him up, kissed him desperately. "I love you too. I'm so sorry it took me this long to say it." Better late than never. They made love right there in the study, urgent and emotional, all the tension of the week breaking apart. And afterward, holding each other on the floor because they hadn't made it to the couch, Adrian felt something settle in his chest. This was real. This was happening. They were choosing each other. "So what now?" Vanessa asked, her head on his chest. "Now we figure it out, together. No more hiding?" "No more hiding," she smiled. "The board is going to lose their minds." "Let them. My lawyers are going to have a field day tearing up that contract." "Worth it." Vanessa lifted her head to look at him. "Maya comes next weekend, right? If that's still okay." "More than okay. I want to meet her, want to start figuring out how we all fit together." Adrian kissed her. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to try." "Back at you." They eventually made it to bed, but not to sleep. They talked until dawn about everything, how to handle the board, when to tell Maya this was becoming permanent, what their life could look like if they stopped planning for an ending. "We're going to mess this up," Vanessa said at one point. "Fight, disappoint each other, screw up." "Probably. But we'll figure it out?" "Yeah, we will." When morning came, they were still tangled together, exhausted but happy, more certain than they'd been since Cape Haven. The intercom buzzed. Margaret's voice. "Miss Laurent? Mr. Cole? Breakfast is ready when you are." Vanessa groaned. "What time is it?" 9, Adrian said, checking his phone. "I have a meeting at 10. "So skip it." "I can't just—" She stopped, then smiled. "Actually, I can. I'm the CEO. I can reschedule my own meetings." Rebellious. "You're a terrible influence." Adrian grinned. "You love it." "I really do." They went down to breakfast together, hand in hand, not caring who saw. And when Margaret smiled at them knowingly, neither of them pretended to be anything other than what they were. A couple. Messy and real and figuring it out as they went. That night, another storm rolled in. Not as violent as the last one, but steady. Rain drumming against the windows, wind sighing through the trees. Adrian woke to find Vanessa's side of the bed empty. He found her in her office, staring at her laptop screen. "Can't sleep?" he asked from the doorway. She jumped slightly. "Sorry, didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. What are you working on?" Vanessa hesitated. "I'm drafting an email to the board, telling them that my marriage is legitimate and my personal life is off limits for discussion." "How's it going?" "Terribly. I keep sounding defensive." Adrian came to read over her shoulder. "That's because you're justifying. Don't justify. Just state facts." "Facts?" "Yeah, I'm married. It's real. It's none of your business. End of discussion." "That's very direct." "You're the CEO, Vanessa. You don't owe them explanations about your private life." She leaned back in her chair. "What if they push back?" "Then you push harder." Vanessa smiled slightly. "I like that version better." Adrian kissed the top of her head. "Come back to bed. Send the email tomorrow when you're not exhausted." "In a minute." But she saved the draft and stood, letting him lead her back to their room. They got back into bed, and Vanessa curled against him. "I'm glad you're here," she said quietly. "Me too. Even though it's complicated and messy?" "Especially because of that." Outside, the storm continued, but inside, wrapped in each other, they were warm and safe and real. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Adrian let himself believe it could actually last. Maya arrived on a Saturday morning with sunshine and the kind of energy only 4-year-olds possessed. She burst through the front door clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days, her curls bouncing as she launched herself at Adrian. "Daddy!" Adrian caught her, lifting her up, and felt something in his chest crack open. 3 weeks had felt like 3 months. "Hey, baby girl, I missed you." "I missed you too. Aunt Jen said you live in a castle now." "It's not a castle. It's just a big house." Maya looked around, eyes wide. "It looks like a castle." Jen stood in the doorway with Maya's overnight bag, grinning. "Told you." Adrian set Maya down and turned to Vanessa, who'd been standing quietly to the side. She looked nervous. Actually nervous, which he'd rarely seen. "Maya," he said gently, "there's someone I want you to meet. This is Vanessa." Vanessa crouched down to Maya's level, which Adrian appreciated. "Hi, Maya. Your dad's told me so much about you." Maya studied her with the brutal honesty of childhood. "You're pretty." "Thank you. So are you." "Is this your castle?" "It's my house, yes. But your dad lives here too now, which means you get to visit whenever you want." Maya looked between them, processing. "Are you Daddy's girlfriend?" Adrian and Vanessa exchanged a glance. They discussed this, keeping it simple, age-appropriate. "Actually," Adrian said, "Vanessa is my wife, which means she's your stepmom." Maya's face scrunched up. "Like in Cinderella." Vanessa laughed, surprised. "I promise I'm not evil. No making you clean fireplaces." "Do you have a fireplace?" "Several, actually." "Can I see them?" Just like that, the ice was broken. Maya grabbed Vanessa's hand and started pulling her toward the living room, asking a million questions. Vanessa looked back at Adrian with something like panic and wonder mixed together. He mouthed, "You're doing great." Jen sidled up beside him. "She seems nice, less terrifying than I expected." "She's not terrifying. She's a billionaire CEO who married you for mysterious contract reasons. That's at least a little terrifying." Jen watched Vanessa patiently explaining the history of the fireplace mantle to Maya. "But she's good with her. I'll give her that." The day unfolded better than Adrian had hoped. Vanessa was surprisingly natural with Maya, not trying too hard, just letting Maya's enthusiasm guide them. They explored the garden, where Maya picked wildflowers that were probably rare and expensive. They played hide and seek in the too many rooms, with Maya's delighted shrieks echoing through halls that had probably never heard children's laughter. At lunch, Maya sat between them, chattering about everything and nothing. "Aunt Jen says you're really smart," she told Vanessa through a mouthful of sandwich. "Don't talk with your mouth full, baby," Adrian said automatically. Maya swallowed. "Are you really smart?" "I try to be," Vanessa said, "but your dad's pretty smart too." "Daddy draws pictures on the computer." "I know, he's very talented." Maya considered this. "Can you draw?" "Not even a little bit. I'm terrible at art." "That's okay. Daddy can teach you. He teaches me." Vanessa smiled, and Adrian saw something soften in her expression. Maybe he can teach both of us. After lunch, Jen had to leave, a work thing she couldn't postpone. Maya hugged her goodbye, then turned to Vanessa with sudden shyness. Is it okay if I stay here, with you and Daddy? Vanessa's eyes went suspiciously bright. Of course it is. I'm really glad you're here. They spent the afternoon in the library. Adrian worked on his laptop while Maya colored and Vanessa read through contracts, all of them existing in comfortable proximity. It felt domestic, normal, like something that could actually be their life. Around 4, Maya climbed into Vanessa's lap without asking permission, dragging her coloring book with her. Will you color with me? Vanessa looked startled. I told you, I'm not very good at... That's okay. You can stay in the lines. That's the easy part. Adrian watched Vanessa carefully select a crayon, her corporate negotiation skills apparently useless against a 4-year-old's logic. Maya directed her with the kind of bossy affection kids used when they liked someone, and Vanessa followed instructions like she was in a board meeting. You're doing it wrong, Maya said, not unkindly. The sky should be blue, not purple. What if it's sunset? Maya thought about this. Okay, then you need orange too. By the time they finished the picture, a surprisingly decent sunset scene, Maya had completely claimed Vanessa. She wanted Vanessa to read her a bedtime story, wanted to sleep in the room next to theirs, wanted Vanessa's opinion on which pajamas to wear. I think the ones with stars, Vanessa said seriously. Stars are classic. That's what I thought too. After Maya was finally asleep, Adrian and Vanessa sat in the hallway outside the guest room, both emotionally exhausted. How do you have any energy left at the end of the day? Vanessa asked. She's like a tiny tornado. You get used to it. She's incredible, Adrian. You did such a good job with her. We got lucky. She's just naturally awesome. He took Vanessa's hand. Thank you for today, for being so good with her. I didn't do anything special. You did. You were patient and present, and you didn't try to force anything. That means everything to me. Vanessa leaned her head on his shoulder. I was terrified she'd hate me. Maya doesn't hate anyone. It's physically impossible for her. Still, I wanted her to like me, wanted to do right by her. Vanessa paused. Is it weird that I feel protective of her already? We just met. No, it's perfect. They sat there for a while, listening to the quiet house, both thinking about how drastically their lives had changed in just a few weeks. I sent the email, Vanessa said quietly, to the board, about my marriage being off limits. Adrian tensed. When? This morning, before Maya got here. She looked at him. I wanted to go into today knowing I'd already drawn that line, that I wasn't hiding anymore. Any response? Richard sent back a very professional message saying he looked forward to discussing it at the next board meeting, which is corporate speak for we're going to have a fight about this. Are you ready for that? I don't know, but I'm done letting them control my personal life. Vanessa's jaw set. I'm good at my job. The company's thriving. My marriage doesn't change any of that, and I'm prepared to make that very clear. Adrian kissed her temple. That's my girl. They went to bed, but Adrian woke around 2 to find Vanessa's side empty. He found her in Maya's room, sitting in the chair beside the bed, just watching the little girl sleep. Hey, he whispered from the doorway. You okay? Vanessa startled slightly. Yeah, I couldn't sleep and I wanted to check on her. Adrian came to stand beside the chair. Maya was sprawled across the bed, one arm flung over her rabbit, completely peaceful. She's beautiful, Vanessa said softly. Looking at her, I keep thinking about everything you've done to protect her, raise her alone. And it makes me understand why you agreed to this whole arrangement. She's my whole world. I know. Vanessa looked up at him. And I want you to know that I take that seriously. Whatever happens with us, I would never do anything to hurt her. I know that too. Do you? Because Adrian, if this falls apart, if we can't make it work, she's going to be caught in the middle. And I need you to know that scares me almost as much as everything else. Adrian pulled her to her feet, led her back to their room. Once the door was closed, he turned to face her. It's not going to fall apart, he said. You can't know that. I can. Because we're not going to let it. We're going to fight for this. Fight for us. And yeah, it's going to be hard sometimes. We're going to have bad days and disagreements and moments where we want to quit, but we won't. Because what we have is worth fighting for. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. How are you so sure? Because I've already lost love once. I know what that feels like. And I know this is different. This is real. This is worth everything. She kissed him, desperate and grateful, and they made love quietly, aware of the little girl sleeping down the hall, aware of how much more was at stake now. The next morning, Maya wanted pancakes. Vanessa admitted she'd never made pancakes in her life. Never? Maya looked scandalized. I usually just have coffee for breakfast. That's sad. Daddy makes the best pancakes. So Adrian taught them both, Maya standing on a stool to help measure ingredients while Vanessa tried to figure out the griddle. It was chaotic and messy, and flour ended up everywhere, but the pancakes turned out decent. See, Maya said, syrup all over her face. You just needed practice. Vanessa laughed. I guess I did. After breakfast, they walked the grounds. Maya found a small creek she was convinced had fish in it and spent an hour trying to catch them with her bare hands while Adrian and Vanessa sat on the bank watching. This is nice, Vanessa said. I'd forgotten this place could feel like this. Like what? Like a home. Instead of just a house I inherited. Adrian put his arm around her. We're working on that. When Jen came to pick up Maya that evening, the little girl clung to Vanessa. Do I have to go? Your Aunt Jen misses you, Vanessa said gently. But you'll come back soon, I promise. Next weekend? Vanessa looked at Adrian, who nodded. Next weekend. Okay. Maya hugged her tight. I like you, Vanessa. You're a good stepmom, not like the mean one in the movie. Vanessa's voice was thick when she answered. I like you too, Maya. So much. After they left, the house felt too quiet. Vanessa and Adrian stood in the foyer, both feeling the absence. Well, Adrian said, she approved. Thank God. I was genuinely worried she'd hate me. Impossible. You're impossible to hate. Vanessa smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Tell that to my board. The board meeting was Tuesday. Vanessa left early that morning, dressed in her armor, a sharp suit, heels that could double as weapons, her hair pulled back in a severe bun. She looked every inch the CEO. You've got this, Adrian told her before she left. They're going to come at me hard. So come back harder. She kissed him fiercely. I love you. Love you too. Now go show them who's boss. Adrian tried to work while she was gone, but he couldn't focus. He kept checking his phone, waiting for updates. Around 2 p.m, it finally rang. How'd it go? He asked immediately. Vanessa's laugh sounded brittle. About as well as expected, Richard questioned whether my marriage was clouding my judgment, implied I was making emotional decisions instead of strategic ones, basically tried to make me look incompetent in front of the entire board. What did you do? I reminded him that under my leadership, the company's stock price has increased 40%, that we've expanded into 3 new markets, that our employee retention is at an all-time high. And then I told him that my personal life has no bearing on my professional performance, and if he'd like to challenge that with actual evidence instead of misogynistic speculation, I'd be happy to hear it. Adrian grinned. That's my girl. He backed down. For now. But Adrian, this isn't over. He's going to keep pushing, keep looking for ways to undermine me. Then we deal with it when it happens. Together. Together, she repeated. Yeah. Okay. But when she came home that night, Adrian could see the toll it had taken. She was exhausted, brittle, holding herself together by force of will. Come here, he said, pulling her into his arms. Vanessa collapsed against him. I'm so tired of proving myself over and over. It's never enough. It is enough. You are enough. They're just too threatened by your competence to admit it. What if they're right? What if getting married did make me less focused? Did it? She pulled back to look at him. No. If anything, I'm more focused now, because I have something to fight for beyond just the company. I have you. I have Maya. I have a life worth protecting. Then that's your answer. Vanessa kissed him. How did I get so lucky? We both got lucky. They ordered dinner, watched a movie, went to bed early. And in the middle of the night, when Adrian woke to find Vanessa crying silently beside him, he just held her and let her break. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry I'm such a mess. You're not a mess. You're human, and you're allowed to feel things. I'm supposed to be stronger than this. Being strong doesn't mean never breaking down. It means letting yourself break and then getting back up. She cried harder, and Adrian held her through it, whispering reassurances, being the steady presence she needed. By morning, she was calmer, resolved. I'm going to fight them, she said over coffee. Richard, the board, anyone who questions my authority, I'm done being defensive. Good. And I'm going to make our marriage public, really public. No more downplaying it or keeping you hidden. I want people to know you're my husband, that I chose you. Adrian's heart swelled. You sure? Completely. There's a charity gala next month. Big event, lots of press. I want you there. As my date, my husband, my partner. I'll need a better suit. Vanessa smiled. I'll buy you 10 better suits. The next few weeks settled into a rhythm. Vanessa worked long hours, but came home to Adrian every night. Maya visited on weekends, slowly building a relationship with Vanessa that felt natural and easy. The house started feeling less like a museum and more like a home. Adrian moved his design work into one of the unused offices, setting up a proper workspace. Vanessa would sometimes come in after a stressful call, sitting on the couch just to be near him while he worked. Tell me something good, she'd say, and Adrian would talk about the logo he was designing or the client who loved his work. And slowly the tension would leave her shoulders. They were learning each other, learning how to exist together, how to support each other, how to build something real from the ashes of their fake arrangement. But happiness, Adrian had learned, was always temporary. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. Adrian was working when his phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, is this Adrian Cole? Yes. Who's this? My name is Karen Morrison. I'm an attorney representing Rachel Hayes. I believe you know her as your ex-partner. Adrian's blood went cold. What does Rachel want? Ms. Hayes would like to discuss custody arrangements for your daughter, Maya. There are no custody arrangements. Rachel signed away her parental rights 3 years ago. Ms. Hayes is prepared to challenge that decision. She believes she was coerced into signing and would like to revisit the matter. That's insane. No one coerced her. She chose to leave. Nevertheless, we'll be filing a motion to reinstate her parental rights and establish joint custody. You'll be served with papers shortly. I'd recommend you retain legal counsel. The line went dead. Adrian sat there, phone in his hand, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under him. Rachel was coming back. After 3 years of silence, she wanted Maya. He called Jen first. She can't do this, his sister said immediately. She abandoned Maya, signed away her rights willingly. Apparently she's claiming she was coerced. By who? You were broke and desperate. What could you have possibly coerced her with? I don't know, but she has a lawyer. She's serious about this. Adrian, you need to fight this. You can't let her just walk back into Maya's life after all this time. I know, His voice broke. What if I lose her, Jen? What if some judge decides Rachel deserves a second chance and I lose my daughter? You won't. We won't let that happen. Get a lawyer, the best one you can afford. Adrian hung up and sat there, trying to process. Then he heard Vanessa's car in the driveway. She took one look at his face and knew something was wrong. What happened? Adrian told her everything, watched her expression shift from concern to fury. She can't do this, Vanessa said. She has no legal standing. Apparently she does, or her lawyer thinks she does. Then we fight it. Adrian, we fight this with everything we have. We? Yes, we. You think I'm going to sit back and let some woman who abandoned her child waltz back in and disrupt Maya's life? Not happening. Adrian pulled her close. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is what partners do, what families do. Vanessa pulled back, her expression fierce. I'm calling my lawyers, the best custody attorneys in the state. We're going to bury her in paperwork and precedent until she backs down. What if she doesn't back down? Then we go to court. And we win. The next few days were a blur of legal consultations. Vanessa's attorneys were sharp, thorough, and expensive. They explained that Rachel's case was weak. She'd voluntarily terminated her parental rights. There was no evidence of coercion, and she'd had zero contact with Maya for 3 years. But family court was unpredictable. Judges sometimes favored mothers, especially ones who claimed they'd made a mistake and wanted to correct it. We need to show that you're the stable parent, the lead attorney said, That Maya's life is secure and disrupting it would be harmful. I can do that, Adrian said. And your marriage helps, shows stability, two-parent household, financial security. The attorney looked at Vanessa. You'll likely need to testify as well. Speak to your relationship with Maya, your commitment to being her stepmother. Whatever it takes, Vanessa said immediately. The papers were served on Friday. Adrian read through them with growing horror. Rachel wasn't just asking for visitation. She wanted joint custody, wanted Maya to spend half her time with a mother she barely remembered. This is insane, he said. Maya doesn't even know her. She'll be traumatized. We'll make that argument, the attorney said. We'll get a child psychologist to evaluate Maya, testify about the impact of sudden custody changes. But Adrian, you need to be prepared for the possibility that Rachel might get some visitation rights. The court may decide she deserves a chance to rebuild her relationship with her daughter. Over my dead body, Vanessa squeezed his hand. We're going to fight this, whatever it takes. That night, Adrian called Jen to tell Maya what was happening. His daughter needed to know before someone else told her. Can I talk to her? He asked. Jen put Maya on the phone. Hi, Daddy. Adrian's throat tightened. Hey, baby girl, how are you? Good. Aunt Jen says we're making cookies tomorrow. That sounds fun. He took a breath. Maya, I need to talk to you about something important, about your mom. Maya was quiet for a moment. My mom who went away? Yeah. She wants to see you, to spend time with you. Why? I don't know, baby. But there might be some people asking you questions about it, asking how you feel, and I need you to tell the truth, okay? Whatever you're feeling, it's okay to say it. I don't want to see her, Maya said, her voice small. I don't remember her. You're my daddy, and Vanessa's my stepmom now. That's my family. Adrian's eyes burned. I know, sweetheart. I know. After they hung up, he sat with his head in his hands. Vanessa found him like that. She doesn't want to see Rachel, he said. She told me. But I don't know if that will matter to a judge. It will matter. We'll make it matter. The custody evaluation was scheduled for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, Adrian tried to maintain normalcy for Maya. She visited on weekends and they did their usual activities, park visits, movie nights, pancake breakfasts with Vanessa. But Adrian was constantly watching her, looking for signs of stress, worried that all of this was already hurting her. She's okay, Vanessa said one night. Kids are resilient. She shouldn't have to be resilient. She should be protected. We are protecting her by fighting this. The night before the custody evaluation, Adrian couldn't sleep. He got up, went to his office, started working on a project he'd been putting off. Anything to quiet his mind. Vanessa found him at 3 a.m. You need to sleep, she said. Can't. She sat beside him, took his hand. Talk to me. I keep thinking about what happens if we lose, if some judge decides Rachel deserves another chance, and I have to hand over my daughter to a woman who doesn't know her, who left her. Adrian's voice cracked. I can't do that, Vanessa. I can't. Then we won't. We'll fight until there's nothing left to fight with. What if it's not enough? Vanessa turned his face toward hers. Listen to me. You are an incredible father. You've given Maya a stable, loving home. You've sacrificed everything for her. No judge is going to look at your life and decide you're not fit to be her primary parent. You don't know that. I do, because I've seen you with her. I've seen how much you love her, how hard you work to give her a good life. And I'm going to make sure everyone else sees it too. Adrian pulled her close, breathing in her scent, trying to find calm. I don't know what I'd do without you. Good thing you'll never have to find out. They went back to bed, but Adrian still didn't sleep. He lay there holding Vanessa, trying not to think about losing everything he'd built. The custody evaluator came to the house on a Tuesday, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a notebook that never seemed to close. She interviewed Adrian first, asking about his relationship with Maya, his daily routine, his support system. Adrian was honest about everything: Rachel leaving, the financial struggles, the contract marriage that had become real. And Miss Laurent, the evaluator asked, how involved is she in Maya's life? Very. She's taken on the stepmother role completely. Maya adores her. And if you were to lose custody, if Maya had to split time between households, how do you think that would affect her? Adrian's hands clenched. It would devastate her. Maya's had one constant in her life: me. Disrupting that would be cruel. The evaluator wrote something down. I'll need to interview Maya as well, and Ms. Laurent. Vanessa's interview was later that day. Adrian waited outside, trying not to pace. When she emerged, she looked calm, but her hands were shaking slightly. How'd it go? Adrian asked. Fine. She asked about my relationship with Maya, my commitment to being her stepmother, whether I thought Rachel should have visitation rights. What did you say? I said that I love Maya like she's my own, that I would do anything to protect her, and that forcing her to have a relationship with a mother who abandoned her would be psychological torture. Adrian kissed her. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is our daughter we're protecting. Our daughter. The word settled something in Adrian's chest. The evaluator's report came back 2 weeks later. It was cautiously optimistic. She noted Adrian's strong bond with Maya, the stability of his current situation, Vanessa's genuine commitment to the child. But she also recommended limited supervised visitation with Rachel, allowing Maya to develop a relationship with her biological mother. It's not ideal, the attorney said, but it's better than joint custody. I don't want her anywhere near Maya, Adrian said. I understand, but this gives us leverage. We can negotiate supervised visits in exchange for Rachel dropping the custody claim. The mediation was set for a month out. In the meantime, Adrian had to tell Maya that she might have to see her birth mother. He did it on a Sunday afternoon with Vanessa beside him for support. Maya listened quietly, her small face serious. Will I have to go live with her? She asked. No, baby. Never. You'll always live with me. And Vanessa? Vanessa took her hand. And me. We're a family, Maya. That doesn't change. Okay. Maya seemed to process this. Can I bring my rabbit if I have to see her? Adrian's heart broke. Of course you can. That night, after Maya was asleep, Adrian and Vanessa sat in their room trying to process everything. This is really happening, Adrian said. Rachel's going to be in our lives, only as much as we allow. We control this, Adrian, not her. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for her to have some secret weapon that destroys everything. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. There's something I need to tell you. Adrian's stomach dropped. What? I had my lawyers do some digging into Rachel's background, what she's been doing the past 3 years. And she got married about 18 months ago to a man named David Preston. He's wealthy, not billionaire wealthy, but comfortable. And apparently they're trying to have children. Adrian stared at her. So what? She wants Maya as practice? I don't know. But it gives us insight into her motivation. This isn't about love or regret. It's about wanting to play house with her new husband. That makes it worse. I know, but it also gives us ammunition. We can argue that she's not seeking custody because she genuinely wants a relationship with Maya, but because she wants to present a certain image to her new husband. It was manipulative and calculated and exactly what they needed. Do it, Adrian said. Whatever it takes to protect Maya. Vanessa kissed him. We're going to win this, I promise you. I promise. But as Adrian lay in bed that night, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading towards something that would change everything. That no matter how well they fought, someone was going to get hurt. He just prayed it wouldn't be Maya. The mediation happened in a sterile conference room with too much fluorescent lighting and chairs that squeaked every time someone shifted. Adrian sat between Vanessa and his attorney, across from Rachel and her lawyer. This was the first time he'd seen her in 3 years. She looked different, polished. Her hair was professionally styled, her clothes expensive, her nails manicured. Nothing like the exhausted, frustrated woman who'd walked out on their daughter. Thank you all for coming, the mediator began. We're here to discuss custody arrangements for Maya Cole. Ms. Hayes, you've requested joint custody. Mr. Cole, you're opposing this. Let's start with you, Ms. Hayes. Can you explain why you're seeking to reinstate your parental rights? Rachel's voice was steady, practiced. I made a mistake. 3 years ago, I was overwhelmed, suffering from postpartum depression that I didn't recognize at the time. I thought Maya would be better off without me. But I've gotten help since then. I'm in a stable marriage, I'm financially secure, and I'm ready to be the mother Maya deserves. Adrian's jaw clenched. It sounded so reasonable when she said it like that. Mr. Cole? The mediator prompted. Adrian took a breath. Rachel didn't leave because of postpartum depression. She left because she was done. She told me that being a mother wasn't what she wanted, that Maya was holding her back. She signed away her rights willingly, without coercion, and she's had zero contact with our daughter for 3 years. Maya doesn't remember her. Forcing a relationship now would be traumatic. I was sick, Rachel insisted. I didn't know what I was saying, and I stayed away because I thought that's what Adrian wanted, that I'd done too much damage to come back. That's not true, Adrian said. You never tried to reach out, never sent a birthday card, never asked how Maya was doing. You disappeared completely. Rachel's lawyer cut in. Ms. Hayes is here now. She's seeking to make amends. Surely Mr. Cole can see the value in Maya having both parents in her life. Vanessa spoke for the first time. Maya has both parents. She has Adrian, who's raised her alone for 3 years. And she has me. We're her family. What Ms. Hayes is proposing isn't about Maya's welfare. It's about her own guilt. Rachel's eyes flashed. And who are you exactly? Some woman he married for money? You're not Maya's mother. No, Vanessa said calmly. But I'm the one who makes her breakfast every Saturday, who helps her with her homework, who holds her when she has nightmares. Where were you? Ladies, the mediator said, let's keep this productive. The session went on for 2 hours. Rachel's lawyer argued for graduated visitation leading to joint custody. Adrian's attorney countered with evidence of Rachel's abandonment, her lack of relationship with Maya, the stability of Adrian's current household. Finally, the mediator called for a break. In the hallway, Vanessa grabbed Adrian's hand. You're doing great. She sounds so convincing. What if the mediator believes her? The evidence is on our side. Medical records show no diagnosis of postpartum depression, no therapy records from that time. She's lying, Adrian, and we can prove it. When they reconvened, Adrian's attorney dropped the bomb. We'd like to submit evidence regarding Ms. Hayes' current situation, specifically her social media posts from the past 18 months. Rachel's lawyer tensed. What kind of posts? The attorney pulled out printed screenshots. These are from Ms. Hayes' Instagram account. Multiple posts about how excited she is to start a family with her new husband, about how she can't wait to be a mom someday, about how she's never experienced the joy of motherhood. Rachel's face went white. She has experienced motherhood, the attorney continued. She has a daughter. But apparently Maya doesn't fit the narrative she's trying to create with her new husband. That's not, Rachel started. We also have records showing that Ms. Hayes told her current husband she'd never had children, that Maya's existence was concealed from him until recently, when he presumably discovered the truth. The mediator looked at Rachel. Is this accurate? Rachel's composure cracked. I didn't know how to tell him. It was complicated. You were ashamed, Vanessa said quietly, of having a daughter you abandoned, so you erased her, until it became convenient to acknowledge her existence. That's not fair. What's not fair is you waltzing back into Maya's life after 3 years because you need to look like a good mother for your new husband. Adrian's voice was hard. This isn't about Maya. It's never been about Maya. It's about you wanting to play house and needing a child to complete the picture. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I made mistakes. I know that. But I still have rights. You signed away your rights, Adrian interrupted. You chose to leave. You don't get to undo that because it's inconvenient now. The mediator cleared her throat. Let's take another break. Ms. Hayes, I'd like to speak with you and your attorney privately. 20 minutes later, they were called back in. Rachel looked defeated. Her lawyer resigned. Ms. Hayes has agreed to withdraw her petition for joint custody, the mediator said. However, she would like the opportunity for limited supervised visitation, 1 visit per month, with the understanding that if Maya becomes distressed, the visits will cease. Adrian wanted to say no, wanted to protect Maya from this woman who'd already hurt her once. But his attorney had warned him, if they went to court, a judge might order visitation anyway. Better to control the terms now. Fine, he said, but the first sign that this is hurting Maya, it stops, immediately. Rachel nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you. I'm not doing this for you, Adrian said coldly. I'm doing it because I won't let a judge make decisions about my daughter's well-being. But make no mistake, Rachel, you hurt her again, and I will bury you in legal motions until you give up. Understand? She nodded again, not meeting his eyes. The papers were signed. 1 supervised visit per month, subject to termination if deemed harmful to Maya's emotional well-being. Rachel would have no say in educational or medical decisions, no custody rights, just a few hours a month to try to build something from nothing. Walking out of that building, Adrian felt like he could breathe for the first time in weeks. "We won," Vanessa said. "We survived," Adrian corrected. "There's a difference." That night they told Maya about the arrangement. She listened quietly, her rabbit clutched tight. "Do I have to call her Mom?" she asked. "No, baby. You can call her Rachel if you want, or nothing at all." "Will she try to take me away?" Adrian pulled her into his lap. "No, never. You're staying right here with me and Vanessa. This is just a few hours a month. And if you don't like it, we stop." "Okay." Maya thought about it. "Can Vanessa come with me?" Vanessa's eyes went bright. "If you want me there, I'll be there." "I want you there." The first visit was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, life tried to return to normal. Vanessa had the charity gala coming up, the one where she planned to publicly claim Adrian as her husband. She'd been working with a stylist on her outfit, on the whole presentation. "I want to make a statement," she told Adrian. "Show everyone that my marriage is real and I'm not apologizing for it." "What kind of statement?" She showed him the dress, a stunning red gown that was elegant but bold. "I'm also planning to announce a new initiative. Laurent Industries is launching a foundation supporting single parents, childcare subsidies, job training, emergency financial assistance, all the things you needed when you were raising Maya alone." Adrian stared at her. "Vanessa, I've been thinking about it for weeks, about how hard it was for you. How many other parents are struggling the same way, and I have the resources to help, so why not? This is incredible. I'm naming it after Maya, the Maya Cole Foundation for Single Parent Support." Vanessa took his hand. "Is that okay? Using her name?" Adrian's throat was tight. "More than okay, but Vanessa, this is going to cost millions." "I have millions, lots of them, and I'd rather spend them on something that matters than another yacht I'll never use." She smiled. "Besides, it's good for the company image, shows we care about our employees, our communities. The board will love it." "Will they?" "They don't have a choice. I'm the CEO. I make the calls." The gala was on a Saturday night. Adrian wore a custom tuxedo Vanessa had insisted on buying, and he had to admit, he looked good, better than he'd ever looked in his life. Vanessa was breathtaking in her red dress, her hair swept up, diamonds at her throat that probably cost more than a house. "Ready?" she asked. Terrified, but ready. The venue was spectacular, a historic hotel ballroom with crystal chandeliers and enough flowers to stock a shop. Everyone who mattered was there. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities, old money and new money mixing together. Adrian stuck close to Vanessa as she worked the room. People stared at her dress, at their joined hands, at the fact that the elusive Vanessa Laurent had brought a date. "Is this the mysterious husband?" someone asked. A woman in diamonds, eyes sharp with curiosity. "This is Adrian," Vanessa said warmly. "My husband, yes. Adrian, this is Catherine Winters. She sits on the museum board with me." "Lovely to meet you," Catherine said, but she was studying Adrian like he was a specimen. "How did you two meet?" "Through mutual connections," Vanessa said easily. "Sometimes the best things happen when you're not looking." It was the same lie from the wedding, but now it felt less like a lie. They had found each other unexpectedly. The circumstances were unusual, but the result was real. Throughout the night, Adrian watched Vanessa navigate the social waters with practiced ease. She introduced him to everyone, never downplaying their relationship, making it clear he wasn't just arm candy, but her actual partner. And when Richard approached, the board member who'd been causing trouble, Vanessa's spine straightened. "Richard," she said coolly, "have you met my husband, Adrian?" Richard's smile was tight. "I don't believe I have. Congratulations on the marriage." "Thank you," Adrian said, keeping his voice neutral. "Must be quite an adjustment," Richard continued, "going from whatever you did before to this world." "I'm a graphic designer," Adrian said. "And yes, it's different, but Vanessa's worth adjusting for." "How romantic." Richard's tone suggested he found it anything but. "Vanessa, I was hoping we could discuss the quarterly projections." "Not tonight, Richard. Tonight is about the foundation launch." Vanessa's smile was sharp. You'll hear all about it in the presentation. She steered Adrian away before Richard could respond. I hate that man, she muttered. I can tell. He's been trying to undermine me for years, but he's not going to win. The presentation happened after dinner. Vanessa took the stage, poised and confident, and announced the Maya Cole Foundation to thunderous applause. She spoke passionately about supporting single parents, about the struggles they faced, about using privilege to create opportunity. And then she said something that made Adrian's heart stop. This foundation is personal for me. My husband Adrian raised his daughter Maya alone for 3 years before we met. I've watched him sacrifice everything to give her a good life. And I've learned that single parents are some of the strongest, most resilient people in our society. They deserve support, not judgment. Resources, not shame. And that's what this foundation will provide. She looked directly at Adrian. Maya is named after the bravest little girl I know, and this foundation is dedicated to making sure other children don't have to watch their parents struggle the way Adrian did. The room erupted in applause. Adrian felt tears on his face and didn't care who saw. After the presentation, people swarmed Vanessa with questions, with praise, with donations. The foundation raised $3 million that night alone, but more importantly, the whispers changed. Instead of questioning Vanessa's marriage, people were talking about her compassion, her vision, her leadership. Richard couldn't touch her now. Later, in the car heading home, Vanessa kicked off her heels with a groan of relief. That went well, she said. Well, that was incredible. You were incredible. We were incredible. She took his hand. Did you see Richard's face when everyone started applauding? He looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. Adrian laughed. He did. Think he'll back off now? He'll have to. I just became untouchable. Between the foundation and the public support for our marriage, he has no ammunition left. You planned this, Adrian realized. The whole thing. The timing, the announcement, making our relationship public at the same moment you launch something that makes you look incredible. I learned from the best, Vanessa said. Never let them see you sweat. Always stay 3 moves ahead and turn your vulnerability into strength. You're terrifying. Thank you. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I love you, you know, in case I don't say it enough. You say it plenty, but I love hearing it anyway. I love you. I love Maya. I love the life we're building, and I'm not letting anyone take that away from us. The first visit with Rachel happened at a neutral location, a family center with supervised visitation rooms. Adrian and Vanessa brought Maya, who clung to Vanessa's hand the entire way. I don't want to go, she whispered. I know, baby, Vanessa said gently. But we'll be right outside the whole time. And if you want to leave, just tell the supervisor. They'll bring you right out. Promise? Promise. Rachel was already there, looking nervous. When she saw Maya, her face crumpled. Hi, Maya, she said softly. You've gotten so big. Maya pressed closer to Vanessa. Hi. The supervisor, a kind woman named Linda, stepped in. Why don't we go to the playroom? I have some toys set up. Maya looked back at Adrian and Vanessa. We'll be right here, Adrian said, right outside that door. Reluctantly, Maya let Linda lead her away. Rachel followed, and the door closed. Adrian and Vanessa sat in the waiting area, both tense. She'll be okay, Vanessa said, but she sounded like she was trying to convince herself. 30 minutes in, Linda emerged. Maya's doing fine. She's playing with blocks. Rachel's sitting nearby trying to engage, but Maya's mostly ignoring her. Is that normal? Adrian asked. Very. Maya's establishing boundaries. It's actually healthy. The visit lasted an hour. When Maya came out, she went straight to Vanessa, wrapping her arms around her legs. How was it? Vanessa asked. Okay, I guess. She asked me a lot of questions. What kind of questions? About school and my favorite foods and stuff. She brought me a toy. Maya held up a doll, expensive and pristine. I told her I already have toys. Adrian bit back a smile. That was honest. Can we go home now? Yeah, baby. Let's go home. In the car, Maya was quiet. Finally, she said, She seems nice, but she's not my mom. Not really. No, Vanessa agreed. Not really. You're more my mom than her. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Oh, sweetheart. Can I call you Mom instead of Vanessa? Adrian glanced at Vanessa, saw her fighting to keep her composure. If you want to, she managed. I would love that. Okay, Mom. Maya tested the word. Yeah, that sounds right. They kept driving, and Adrian reached over to squeeze Vanessa's hand. She was crying silently, trying not to let Maya see. Later, after Maya was asleep, Vanessa broke down completely. She called me Mom, she sobbed into Adrian's chest. Adrian, she called me Mom. I know. I never thought, I didn't expect. You've earned it. You've been more of a mother to her than Rachel ever was. I love her so much. Is that crazy? She's not even mine. She is yours. Biology doesn't make a parent. Love does. Showing up does. And you've done both. Vanessa cried until she had nothing left, and Adrian held her through it, this woman who'd been alone for so long finally understanding what it meant to be part of a family. The visits with Rachel continued monthly. Maya was polite but distant, never warming up the way Rachel clearly hoped she would. After 3 months, Rachel's lawyer reached out. Ms. Hayes would like to discontinue the visits, the message said. She feels they're not productive and are causing her emotional distress. Adrian read it twice to make sure he understood. She's giving up. Again, Vanessa said. She's giving up again. They didn't fight it. The visit stopped. Rachel sent one final letter apologizing to Maya, saying she hoped someday Maya would understand. Maya read it once and put it in a box under her bed, not throwing it away but not treasuring it either. Maybe when I'm older, she said. Maybe then I'll want to know her. But not now. That's okay, Adrian told her. It's your choice. Life settled into a new rhythm. Maya started kindergarten, thriving in her new school. Vanessa's foundation grew, helping thousands of single parents across the state. Adrian's design business expanded as word spread about his work. And one morning, about 6 months after the Rachel situation resolved, Vanessa woke up feeling sick. Food poisoning, she said, running to the bathroom. But it wasn't food poisoning. The test showed 2 pink lines. Vanessa stared at it, then at Adrian, her eyes wide. I'm pregnant, she whispered. Adrian felt the room tilt. You're... what? I'm pregnant. She started laughing, the sound slightly hysterical. I'm pregnant, Adrian. We're having a baby. He pulled her into his arms, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. I didn't think... I wasn't planning... Vanessa couldn't seem to finish a sentence. Neither was I. But Vanessa, this is amazing. Is it? Are you sure? Because Adrian, I don't know how to be a mom. I mean, I'm figuring it out with Maya, but a baby, you'll be incredible. You already are incredible. She pulled back to look at him. You're not freaking out? I'm terrified, but in a good way. Adrian kissed her. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, she repeated, like she needed to hear it to believe it. They told Maya that weekend. She processed the news with the seriousness of a 5-year-old. So, I'll have a brother or sister? Yes, Vanessa said. How do you feel about that? Maya thought about it. Will you still love me? Always, Vanessa said immediately. Having another baby doesn't change how much we love you. There's always enough love. Okay, can I help pick the name? Absolutely. The pregnancy was smooth. Vanessa worked until she was 8 months along, finally taking leave when her ankles swelled so badly she couldn't fit in her heels. The board had long since stopped questioning her. The foundation's success had cemented her reputation, and the company's stock was at an all-time high. Richard had actually retired early, citing health concerns. Vanessa suspected he just couldn't stand watching her succeed. The baby came 3 weeks early, a tiny girl with Adrian's dark hair and Vanessa's eyes. They named her Sophie Elizabeth Cole Laurent, and Maya declared her perfect but really small. Bringing Sophie home to the estate was surreal. The house that had once felt cold and empty was now full of life. Maya's laughter, Sophie's cries, the sound of family. Adrian watched Vanessa with their daughter, saw how natural she was despite her earlier fears, and felt something settle deep in his chest. This was what happiness looked like. Not perfect, not easy, but real and earned and worth every struggle. One night, when Sophie was 2 months old, Adrian found Vanessa in the nursery at 3 a.m. She was rocking their daughter, humming softly, looking exhausted but content. Can't sleep? Adrian asked from the doorway. She was fussy, didn't want to wake you. He came to sit beside them. We're supposed to be a team, remember? You don't have to do this alone. I know, but I like these quiet moments. Just me and her. Vanessa looked at him. Do you ever think about how different our lives could have been? If we'd stuck to the contract, kept it professional, never let ourselves feel anything? Sometimes. I think about it all the time. How close I came to pushing you away completely. How scared I was to let you in. She touched Sophie's tiny hand. And now I can't imagine my life without you. Without Maya. Without this little one. No regrets? Not one. Vanessa smiled. Well, maybe I regret that horrible speech I gave you about being an employee. That was cruel. You were scared. I was an idiot. But you fought for me anyway. You were worth fighting for. They sat in the quiet nursery, their daughter sleeping peacefully between them, and Adrian thought about everything they'd survived, the fake beginning, the real feelings, the board battles, Rachel's return, all of it. Every obstacle had made them stronger, had proven that what they had was real enough to weather anything. I love you, Vanessa said quietly. I don't say it enough in the chaos of babies and work and everything else, but I love you, Adrian. You saved me. We saved each other. Yeah, I guess we did. 3 years later, the estate looked completely different. The formal gardens had been partially converted to a play area, complete with a swing set and sandbox. The pristine interiors bore the marks of children, toys in corners, fingerprints on windows, the beautiful chaos of family life. Maya was 8 now, smart and confident, and completely devoted to her little sister. Sophie was a whirlwind of energy at 3, with Adrian's stubbornness and Vanessa's determination. The house that had once echoed with emptiness now rang with laughter and arguments, and the beautiful noise of people who loved each other. Vanessa had stepped down as CEO, shocking the business world, but she'd done it on her terms. She remained chairman of the board, the final authority, but she'd promoted someone she trusted to handle day-to-day operations. She wanted time with her family, wanted to watch her children grow, wanted to actually enjoy the life she'd built instead of just managing it. The foundation had expanded nationwide, helping tens of thousands of families. Adrian had turned his design business into a full agency, hiring other freelancers who needed the same kind of chance he'd once needed. They were happy. Not perfectly, not without conflict or bad days or moments of frustration, but genuinely, deeply happy. One evening, with both girls finally asleep, Adrian and Vanessa sat on the terrace watching the sunset over the mountains. You know what I realized today? Vanessa said. What? I don't remember the last time I felt lonely. It used to be this constant thing, this ache I carried everywhere. But it's just gone. Adrian pulled her closer. Me too. We did good, didn't we? Despite everything, despite the weird way we started, we built something real. The best thing I ever did was sign that contract. Vanessa laughed. The best thing I ever did was fall in love with you against my better judgment. Your better judgment is overrated. Clearly. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn gold and pink and purple. Inside, their daughters slept in rooms filled with love and security. The house that had once been just a showpiece was now a home, full of memories being made and futures being built. Adrian thought about the man he'd been when this started, desperate, lonely, just trying to survive. And he thought about who he'd become, a husband, a father to 2 incredible girls, a partner to a woman who'd trusted him with her heart despite every reason not to. Sometimes the best things came from the most unlikely beginnings. Sometimes love found you when you weren't looking for it, in the form of a contract that was never supposed to mean anything. And sometimes, if you were brave enough to let it, that love could transform everything. Thank you, Adrian said quietly. For what? For taking a chance on me. For letting me in. For building this life with me. Vanessa turned to look at him, her eyes soft. Thank you for teaching me that it's okay to need someone. That letting people in doesn't make you weak. That love is worth the risk. They kissed as the last light faded from the sky. 2 people who'd started as strangers, bound by a contract, and had become something far more important. A family. Messy and real and absolutely worth every moment of the journey that had brought them here. And in the house behind them, their daughters dreamed peaceful dreams, safe in the knowledge that they were loved completely. by parents who'd chosen each other and chosen them every single day. That was the real ending, Adrian thought. Not a contract fulfilled or a business arrangement concluded, but a family built on trust and courage and the willingness to risk everything for the possibility of something real. They'd both been broken when they met, but together they'd built something whole, something lasting, something worth more than any amount of money could buy. They'd built a home, and in the end, that was the only thing that truly mattered.